Hey, everybody, welcome back. Brendon Nelson, Sam Dog, the infamous 253, coming at you guys for our Seahawks Week 14 preview for Seahawks versus Jets this Sunday from Lumen Field. It was definitely hard last week, especially with the way we lost. We were both freaking pissed as fuck about it. I mean, I know I was, and basically wasn't doing anything unless I did my game picks with Dallas. So we were both pretty frustrated. Didn't really want to watch a bunch of other football stuff at the time, but hopefully this is a better week for us to bounce back. And Brendon, I'll let you start it out. How you doing to begin with?
I'm doing pretty good, Sam. Thank you for having me on once again. It was a tough week. I'm happy to put it in our rear view mirror and have another game to play, but it's definitely going to take more than one game, especially this game, for this team to earn our trust back, I think, because a lot of people, myself included, and a lot of people who watch my videos and watch my streams, they're having some real trust issues with some elements of this team right now, and it's going to take a while for that to come back.
Yeah, I was expressing it too with the way Russell Wilson's been playing lately. It's like he's got to freaking take a break from this podcast and whatever advertising fragrances he's doing with freaking Sierra. He's just got to take a break on that, get back to focusing on what's more important right now. What's more important right now is just winning this game. Granted, I understand family is important too, off of the sport because he had made a little family with his wife. But the most important thing right now is he's just got to get back and focusing. And he needs to freaking do better for himself. And just, by not missing on those throws. And the biggest flaw I've always said about Russell with some of the unnecessary sacks he takes is he holds onto the ball for too damn long. That's been his flaw ever since he got in the league. And he needs to do a better job at fixing that.
Yeah, yeah, and now that he's lost some of his athleticism because of his age, he really can't get away from those sacks the way he used to. It's becoming a real problem. Once upon a time, he could make a bunch of people miss and go make a big play after making, several defensive linemen miss him and just escaping the pressure. He can't do that anymore, and I don't think he's totally realized how he has to change his game to account for that. And that's a problem.
Yeah, granted, we know that we have some of our offensive line are banged up too. So that's a problem. Upati's obviously playing hurt. He should just rest a few weeks and get better. And then who else is hurt on our O line? Obviously,
Well, a
Brandon
lot of
Shell.
backups. It looks like Shell's going to be back this week, which is a big deal. So if we're talking about this game, I'm really just not worried about this team losing because after what happened last week, they caught so much hell in practice. They caught so much hell from the media that they're going to actually work hard in practice this week. Wilson's going to do what he needs to do to make sure he can play a better game this time. The play calling is going to be reevaluated because I don't think it was very good against the Giants.
Hell no, it wasn't.
Yeah, so I have no concern about us losing this game, but there's nothing that can really happen out there on the field against the Jets that's going to get me invested in this season any more than I currently am. This is going to be a process that involves each of these last four games, and we're going to need to see this team build some momentum going into the playoffs because I firmly believe we will beat the Jets. I'm not worried about this game at all in terms of a loss, but Washington is playing really good football right now.
Yep.
The Rams are good, and the 49ers may or may not be fighting for their playoff life by the time we play them. So this is just going to be the game to kind of get the ball rolling for me. I just need to see the offense start to execute a little better because if you take a look at that Giants game, Wilson did everything wrong that you can do as a quarterback. He was inaccurate. He made bad decisions.
He held on the
I've
ball too
been
long.
held onto the ball too long, ran backwards and took sacks. It just wasn't that nothing was really there for him. And with the way this team is built, this team will not get to where we want it to get unless Wilson is playing very well. You can't pay your quarterback $35 million and then turn him into a handoff machine. Like
Exactly.
the 49ers kind of tried to get away with that with Jimmy Garoppolo, and they almost pulled it off in their defense. They actually did a pretty good job of building around Jimmy Garoppolo
Mm-hmm.
and taking the response. But it's a little different with this team. This team is not going to get to a Super Bowl or have an elite offense by giving it to Chris Carson 35 times a game. That's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
So he does need to play better. There's no universe, in my opinion, where we just turn Wilson into Jimmy Garoppolo and win a Super Bowl. That's not going to happen.
Hell no. Exactly.
So, so against this Jets team, I just want to see the team actually execute on offense because this defense has started to turn the corner. And against a team like the Jets, I'm not really worried about their offense doing much against this defense, even if we don't have Dunlap, which as of right now, I kind of expect that he won't be there. We may not have Dunbar. I don't know if he's going to play yet or not, but I don't know. This game, it's tough to really talk about this one game because we're playing the worst team in the league. And I can talk about some things that we need to do, but realistically, we should be able to do whatever we want to do against this Jets team.
Yeah, and also realistically, the Jets have been playing up to their competition lately, so that's why I don't want to overlook just because that they're winless. I still don't want to overlook them just because they're winless. And
Well,
plus,
yeah,
Jamison Crowder, I think, has a calf injury, one of their receivers too.
yeah.
And then, of course, we got
Here's the thing: the team can't overlook anybody, but we as fans can say whatever we need to say. So, as a fan, I am saying I'm not worried about us losing this game because the team just took that devastating loss to the Giants that took us out of contention for the 1 seed and could potentially cost us the division. We'll see. But I'm the thing is the thing that I'm concerned about is the team is just not executing in terms of some fundamentals. Like we beat the Eagles, but in that game we had a 4th and goal at the 2-yard line and we ran a wide receiver end around jet sweep to a guy with a bad hip.
Mhm.
These are just bad process things. These are things that are not good no matter what team you're playing, no matter what situation we're in. We had a 4th-and-1 play against the Eagles where every receiver ran a 2-yard curl route and just turned around. It's just bad process, and it doesn't really matter who you're playing. Like I said, like this week we're playing the worst team in the league, but it just feels like the process is bad. We saw it again against the Giants on that 4th-and-1 where the play was just a complete disaster. Wilson rolls out and there's 3 guys in his face. Nobody's open. Nobody's even potentially going to be able to catch a ball to convert the 4th down. I just don't see it. I,
Yeah.
I just I'm just needing to see those things get cleaned up because when you see that kind of stuff, it makes you wonder if these guys even practice. Like all these timeouts we're wasting, all these times we come out of the huddle with 3 seconds on the play clock and have to use a timeout, all these times where we have to call a timeout to avoid a 12 man on the field penalty. It makes you wonder if this team practices in the off week. So, more than winning this game or winning this game by 30 points or whatever, I just want to see that process start to get better. I want to see some signs that this team is working well together.
Yeah, I agree on that. But
Mhm.
also now we got to get into like with the Jets. We know that we got to shut down their rookie phenom Denzel Mims, who they drafted out of Baylor, and then of course there's the former Tampa Bay Buccaneer receiver Brashad Perriman, and then I mean that's that's basically what I'm looking out for. If I missed anyone, let me know. I mean we definitely got to get pressure on Sam Darnold. Secondary needs to basically do its job. Defense played pretty well last week, despite letting Gallman get the big run, and then of course giving up the 2 touchdowns. But this has to be one of those bounce back weeks where we just don't allow them anything. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got points. Like I said, the Jets have been playing up to their competition lately, so this team cannot overlook them because of their record, and got to study the fact because they almost had their first win of the season, but they let Henry Ruggs get wide open on that 4th down for that easy go-ahead touchdown in the final seconds on that 4th down. Then obviously we got to protect from Quinnen Williams, their pass rusher, and then the pass rush, obviously, offensive line definitely needs to do a hell of a lot better than what they did last week when they gave up those 5 or 6 sacks, however sacks we gave up against the Giants. It just needs to be a bounce back week, and this is going to obviously be a big game for Jamal Adams as well because he's going up against his former team. How much are we going to use him on blitz packages, to just, go after and try to potentially strip Darnold or just get potential sacks and just other big-time plays that we need to get to win the game? We just got to execute. This has got to be the week that we get back to our execution for winning games.
Yeah, and other than the process stuff and Wilson, I think we actually did play a pretty reasonable game against the Giants. I don't think the offensive line played that badly against the Giants. It wasn't great, but when you're playing Chad Wheeler and you don't have Brandon Shell, it's just something that's going to happen. The Giants' defense is good. Their front is good. Leonard Williams has been a very good player for them. So I don't feel like most of the players on this team played that badly against the Giants. I think the process was bad, and I think the QB was bad. But other than that, I think this team is playing reasonably well. This defense, they let up some stuff in that third quarter to Wayne Gallman, but other than that, I think they played a great game. They forced a turnover to take points off the board. They overcame being handed bad field position twice because the Giants got great field position off a fumble and an interception in that game and barely moved the ball. The defense was able to get the offense the ball back at the end down 5 with 2 minutes left. So I feel like this defense as a whole is playing quite well lately. I know they didn't win the game against the Giants, obviously, but I think they did everything they could to give the offense every opportunity to win, and it just didn't happen. So I'm willing to go to war with this defense for the moment. It's obviously tentative. We need to see how they do against a team like the Rams. And then when we get to the playoffs, we'll see how they do against maybe a team like the Bucks or the Vikings or whoever. So again, we can talk about things like Jamal Adams. How much is he going to blitz against his former team? What's he going to do? We can talk about stuff like that. And that stuff is useful. But for me, I'm really just looking for a better process this week. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this player does this player does that. I just need to see the basics of fundamental NFL football return. Things you understand, like you don't break huddle with 3 seconds left on the play clock.
Right.
You don't let the play clock run down to 1 second on every single snap. You don't have 12 men on the field. You don't waste timeouts because of stupid stuff like that.
Mhm.
I just want to see that stuff.
So
So that's really what I'm looking for. I have no concern that this team is going to be able to find a way to do what they need to do against a very weak Jets secondary. That Jets secondary, it's missing Bradley McDougald. He's out for the year, I think. So that's a weak secondary that Wilson should have no problem against, that Metcalf should have no problem against. Should be able to run the ball with Chris Carson now at 100% and Brandon Shell back in the lineup. Should be able to stop the run. Should be able to get pressure on Darnold with or without Dunlap. But it's the process. Can you execute on your fourth downs?
so
Can you execute?
process and execution.
Right. That's more important because when you have bad process, it doesn't matter who you're playing. Things are going to go bad. When you try to run a jet sweep to your receiver at the 2-yard line on fourth down who has a bad hip, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's not going to work because it's just bad process.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a fourth down rollout where it doesn't seem like there was any receiver in the area who could even have potentially caught the ball, and you're allowing immediate pressure on your QB who's trying to roll out of the pocket, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's not going to work most of the time. So that's really what I want to see this week. That's the important thing because, again, I'm not worried about losing this game because the Jets are the Jets, but I am thinking about how we can start playing the right kind of football going into these last 4 games overall.
Yeah, because regardless, if we want to win the division, we have to go 4-0 in these next 4 games, which I'm not
Right.
saying it'll happen, but the execution and process definitely needs to be a lot better than what it's been the last couple of weeks, and that's definitely the must-need fix. But also, Wilson's just got to get his head back in the game in the right place and start making those throws, and he needs to realize that he can't afford to hold on to the ball for too long and not take those unnecessary sacks. But also, we got to still shut. I mean, I'm not really worried about the running game with Frank Gore and whoever the other running back for the Jets is, and then the pass rush obviously being Quentin Williams. We need to at least unleash DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and David Moore and Freddie Swain if he gets his opportunities to just go. We just got to just get back to making that execution, get the mojo back on those deep balls, and just try to go out there and just put up as much points on there and get a good, hopefully 2 touchdown victory to at least bring some confidence back into this team, because we got to rebuild our confidence. I mean, even put some confidence back in the fan base too, with just the way that, the negativity from just the execution that you were mentioned about earlier from the
Right.
last couple of weeks.
Because again, it doesn't matter who you play. If your process and execution is that bad, it's going to be very hard to win. Now, I do believe the Jets are, in a manner of speaking, trying to tank. I do believe that if they actually wanted to win games, Adam Gase would have been fired a long time ago. I do believe that they would be doing things differently than they currently are. So I do believe the Jets are trying to lose. That's another reason why it's hard for me to be scared of actually losing this game. But to a certain extent, like I said, you need to make good decisions, and you need to have good execution, or it doesn't matter who you play. So
Yeah.
it's not about talent. We have way more talent than the Jets. We have more talent than most teams in this league. We have a lot of talent on this team.
We do.
Yeah, we do. So it's just a matter of actually executing. And, Shaquille Griffin said a couple days ago that I think we kind of took the Giants too lightly.
He did. I
Yeah.
saw that on the media. But also, part of me is thinking Trevor Lawrence, with the way the Jets are tanking. Part of me is thinking Trevor Lawrence is going to try to stay back for his senior year at Clemson, especially after he had COVID-19 as well.
I mean, he might. That's a lot of money to pass up, is the thing. So I don't know exactly how he's going to decide that.
But just to
But
avoid the Jets.
yeah, it is certainly possible. The thing is, the Jets are a big market team. They play in New York. It's not the worst thing in the world to go play for the Jets. I know they're terrible right now, but they're going to get a new coach, a new GM, a new staff this offseason in all likelihood. So don't rule it out.
I'm not
But
going to rule it out. I'm just saying a possibility.
right. But yeah. Again, it's hard for me to spend too much time talking about, oh, we need to throw the ball to Metcalf more. Oh, we need to throw the ball to Carson more. Or, get the ball to Carson more. We need to blitz more or blitz less.
Mm-hmm.
As long as whatever we do, run the ball, pass the ball, blitz, play, conservative defense, rush 3, rush 6, it's going to work against the Jets as long as you do it well, as long as the players are focused. And with what Shaquille Griffin said a couple days ago, it seems like maybe they weren't focused against the Giants. And that's really not okay, but it happens, and there's nothing we can do about it now. All we can do now is hope that we don't see it again for the rest of the season, because if this team plays focused and sound fundamental football, they're going to be tough to beat for anybody. I believe that. I think we can beat teams like the Packers, the Rams, the Saints, but that's what I'm looking for in the next 4 games.
Yeah, just cannot fall for no more trap games. We just can't fall for any more traps like we did last week against the Giants.
Right. All right, so that's really all I can say about this one. Again, I'm expecting a big win. I'm obviously going to watch it. It's actually going to be the first time ever I live stream during a Seahawks game on Sunday, so I'm going to be doing that. So you can come check that out if you want to. Mm-hmm. But again, more than any of that, I'm going to look for signs and reasons to be optimistic going forward against these other teams that we're going to be playing. I'm going to look for reason to believe that we can execute at a high enough level to beat the Rams, to beat Washington, and roll into the playoffs and win those games.
Yeah. And definitely that's going to be something to watch out for. Of course, you'll be doing your stream. I'll be up in Seattle with Big Low again, and probably do my post-game video after the game up in Seattle, depending on what happens. Either I do it from outside the stadium or maybe back home, depending on what happens. But we'll see. But the point of this week is get back to perfect process and perfect execution.
Right.
All right. And make sure you check out Brendon's stream when the Seahawks play. And make sure you also, if you haven't yet, subscribe to Brendon Nelson's channel, Seahawks Brendon Nelson. And, of course, if you're new, make sure to hit the sub button on my channel and hit the like button. Me and Brendon do these previews every Thursday and Fridays, depending on how we're really feeling or how we're exhausted. But I was a little, out of it back on Thursday, and so we had to do it today. So, once again, Brendon, thank you for coming in and always doing this with me, man.
All right, no problem.
And keep up the good work on your channel, man. You're doing great.
Thank you.
All right. And All right, so we're going to sign off here. If you ain't with it, you ain't infamous. And as always, go Seahawks. It's time for us to bounce back.